Okay. So, Harni, we come to you next. So, what do you have to say about constantly inside the head of the customer?
Yeah. So,
Going towards the discussion.
Mark, it has been amazing. Yeah, it has been amazing listening to your the principles and your experiences, which actually have made the book. I have some stories to share because I'm a behavioral scientist and I have been practicing a lot of social experiments within my organization and for the clients to whom we consult. So I've been a big follower of Ricardo Semler's Simcoe Style principles, and that's where I'm a practitioner right now. And I have been noticing that a lot of my successful experiences in my past have been very much in alignment with the Simcoe Style principles. And amazingly, the principles that are there in Simcoe Style have a complete alignment with the principles that you spoke about.
Okay.
So what I'll do is, since I thought about talking of constantly being in the customer's heads and also talking about brave leadership, I thought let me talk about both of them together because they are interrelated, and my anecdotes will go back and forth on all of them. So one of the experiments I carried out with a certain group was to teach the team members what empathy is all about, because it was a service function. And teaching empathy is not easy because there's no real formula on how you teach. So one of the experiments I did was I got them to do an exercise which I had named as walk the talk. And it's a very simple exercise wherein everyone in that service function fixes himself or herself as a champion for a group of people, a reasonably manageable group of people. And all that an individual has to do is connect with each one in that group once a fortnight. And that happens without fail. Once a fortnight, you do a one-to-one conversation with each of them to whom you have assigned yourself a champion. And all these conversations are meant to be agenda-less conversations. You don't fix a meeting. You don't tell them that I'm coming to meet you at this time. But in your timetable, it works. And you meet this person once a fortnight. And what do you do in those conversations? When they're agenda-less conversations, it could be you may be traveling with them, you may have coffee with them, you may decide to go have lunch with them, whatever it may be. But what happens when the conversation is agenda-less? You end up speaking about what's going on in your mind. So what actually happened is the customers or the stakeholders of this individual would come out speaking what's going on in their minds. And a lot of things would be just about random experiences around the place, random experiences around the service or the product. And all that this service representative has to do is to make a note of it on once he's back at his desk and make a periodic summary of a collection of all of these experiences. And the only other thing that he or she needs to do is the next time you go and meet the same person, which is after a fortnight, you have to go with some solutions to what could have become a problem. So what happens is a lot of problems or expectations came right into the forefront even before they became a problem. So even before the customer could realize that this is a potential problem or a concern, he saw that a solution is already there in front of him. So this brought about a tremendous amount of customer experience. So this is an experiment which worked out beautifully well, where you don't go and tell somebody that, look, I'm your customer service representative. Please tell me what problems you had. So when you put a person in such a situation, invariably they start creating problems to talk about it because you need something to fill that agenda. But when you have an agenda-less conversation, a lot of aspirational ideas come there. A lot of how I wish it were so thoughts come there. And all these become action plans for the service provider or the product developer or someone who's designing the product to come up with something which is even better. So this was something where I think the Walk the Talk was an amazing experiment, which actually put every single individual in the customer service function constantly into the heads of the customer. So this is something that where I completely align with this principle, and I'm sure this experiment can be replicated in not just for service provider organizations or product designers, but even for simple customer service functions within an organization, say an human resources function. It becomes very easy to implement this and constantly be in the minds or inside the heads of your internal customers or your stakeholders. And it would be an amazing world where every individual in the organization gets a fantastic experience at the workplace. So, how did we get into all of this? Now, I'll quickly touch upon, bravery and being disciplined as well. So, in Semco Style, we talk about some concepts under, extreme stakeholder alignment, which is being constantly in the heads of the customers. What actually does it? It gives every service provider an outside in perspective. When you're having these agenda-less conversations with your customer, you get a perspective from the customer side. That's what we call as the outside in perspective. And with the outside in perspective, where you reach is a common ground. Because in that agenda-less conversation, you're also telling the customer what your challenges are if you have to cater to all that the customer expects. And what you really go there is, you reach a common ground. And if you're consistently delivering to that, I think you have that customer for life. Even not just a customer that will actually help in expanding your business, because the customer will be able to talk stories about your customer service as to how you were able to look at things from their perspective. So that's one experience which I wanted to add from being on this side and where the experiments work. Now, how does one really drive this? It's not very easy to, I tell my team that you just go ahead and put yourself in the shoes of the customer. It doesn't happen. Empathy doesn't happen like that. And how does one do that is, first of all, I need to lead by example. So the leader, first of all, needs to acknowledge that there is a change we need to do in the way we work. There is something that we need to do differently. There is something that we need to do better to be right there. And it all starts with brave leadership. So like we say in our Semco Style intervention, the very first step, I think the starting point of any transformation of this sort, which is actually a change in the mindset. Because when you're talking about really getting into the customer's heads all the time, it is a mindset change. I have to dissociate myself from my body and go and sit in the customer's mind. So change in the mindset needs to be driven by brave leadership. And I think that's what it talks about when you talk about bravery, acknowledging that we need to change the way we work, acknowledging that there is something we can do to make things better. And the first and foremost way of how you drive that leadership is to build trust. So if I have to tell my team that this is something which is an experiment, but it's going to work and you're going to make it work, I would be having an adult to adult conversation with my team, build transparency within my team, saying that this is what we are trying to achieve, and this is the idea I have in mind. What do you think about it? So the team comes with apprehensions, would come with concerns. Some of them would be excited to try. It depends on the personality type of each individual. But nevertheless, they would go ahead and try it because they want to see if this works. So the moment I start having an adult to adult conversation with my team members with complete transparency, saying, even if it fails, it's okay. I had this famous line, which I used to say, that success is yours and failure is mine. And when I build this kind of transparency with hardly any power distance, you can come up and tell me if the things are not working. You can come up and tell me if this idea is never going to work. If that's what you feel, please, feel free to come and tell me. With that kind of transparency in the leadership and reducing power distance, I think that's where being a brave leader is all about. It's about coming down from that pedestal, being empathetic with your own team members or with people who you're utilizing to drive the change. And like I recently said in one of my recent one-liner posts, that while one needs to get into others' shoes to be empathetic, I think it's also equally important for one to stay within one's own skin and be authentic. So one needs to be empathetic in thoughts and in connecting with people, but one needs to be authentic when it comes to actions. And like you said right in the beginning, there has to be no gap between thoughts and actions. And that's where I think it builds credibility.